Today, we're going to talk about one of our favorite questions to ask ourselves when we're stuck and why it might be the key to your next breakthrough.
Life is beautiful.
So I am charged with preparing 5 episodes a week. And this week I was up to number 4. Well, I did 4 and I was up to number 5. And like I just had that brain fog and I wanted to just bash my head into the wall because I just could not come up with this final fucking episode idea. And it was driving me insane. So I'm using ChatGPT. I'm like, ChatGPT, give me one final episode. Here's what our episodes are like. Or I'm using Claude and basically I couldn't find it. Couldn't do it. And I was gonna fucking lose my mind. Then, randomly, this question that we learned from Tim Ferriss so long ago popped into my head. It
Yeah.
was, what if I did the opposite? So what if instead of me continuing to try to dive down and find this last idea, I literally shut my laptop and I just walk away. Just get out of here.
Yeah.
So I take a walk, and in that moment I realize that's the episode. Right there. This episode will be about this powerful question of what if I did the opposite? Because it can be such a powerful question
I like how
for breaking through.
I like how fast that came to you once you actually took the advice.
Exactly. That's why
That's pretty
that's
powerful.
when I knew it was like boom, this is it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we first learned about this when we read the book, The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And he tells an amazing story about when he first used this technique. One of his first jobs out of college was at a startup and he was doing sales. And he was struggling and he wasn't keeping up with everyone. And everyone he realized was making phone calls between the hours of 9 and 5. And then he asked himself, wait a second, what if I did the opposite? What if I called before work between the hours of 7 and 8:30 a.m. and 6 and 7:30 p.m. after work? What would happen then? And what he realized was he would basically cut through all the middlemen and be able to go right to the decision makers when he did that decision, which was the opposite of what everyone else was doing. Right. And then he took it one step further and he said, on these sales call, everyone here is just pitching, trying to get someone to say yes. What if I did the opposite of pitching and just started asking more questions? And when he started asking more questions, he started closing more deals.
Yeah, and the beauty of that story, I think, is it's so Tim Ferrissy in the sense that he ended up working way less hours than everyone else because he was only calling for like 3 hours
Well,
a
the
day.
4-hour work week was called the 4-hour work week.
Exactly. So that's the perfect opening example, but there's also the example of dating, right? One thing that I had to learn about the dating game, the quote unquote game,
Yeah.
was back in the day, when I was on the dating scene, I would act like desperate. Like I would be chasing women and if they gave me even their number, I would text them right away and then I text them again and then I text them again. And my whole thought process was I want to show them that I care about them. Right. That was the thought process that I had. I want to show them that like when I wake up, I'm thinking about them or whatever. It was
New mistake.
noob mistake for sure. When you pursue that strongly, it sends them a signal that like you're desperate and like you need this thing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a turn off.
Yeah.
And so it's not to play a manipulation game. What I did instead was I just turned my attention inward towards me because in a way I was acting desperate. I was trying to win over someone else's love to fill a hole that I had inside. So instead of chasing someone else outside of myself, I gave all that love back to myself. I did the opposite.
Yeah.
And when I did the opposite and I stopped chasing after
You
women,
start attracting.
I became a magnet.
Yeah.
And it was like a switch was flipped.
I think another really, really practical example that so many people can probably relate to here is trying to fall asleep.
Oh yeah.
So you're laying in bed, you woke up at 3 in the morning and you're trying to go back to sleep and you're trying to go back to sleep and you're trying to go back to sleep. And basically you feel like this is never going.
We just got interrupted by Siri. Sorry about that.
So basically, the more you try to fall asleep, the less able you are. So if you did the opposite, right, where actually this is what some therapists actually do to insomniacs, right? They say, don't try to fall asleep. Try not to fall asleep.
Try to stay awake.
Try to stay awake instead.
Yeah,
And
that's a great transition to what I think is the most practical application of this question and of this concept. Do you know Charlie Munger, Warren
yeah, we've
Buffett's
talked about him a
right.
bunch.
So
R.I.P.
Charlie Munger was Warren Buffett's partner, and he's one of the smartest investors who ever lived. And he had all of these mental models, he
Yeah.
called them. And one of his mental models was inversion.
Yeah.
So basically, instead of asking, how do I build a great life? He'd ask, what would guarantee a miserable life? And then he would say, don't do those things, right? So when you invert something, you
Yeah.
flip it on its head because it's so much easier to answer the opposite question than it is the front end question. So instead of how do I grow, what is keeping me stuck,
Mm.
right? It's so much easier to answer that question because our brain can find problems really quickly as
Mm.
opposed to solutions, and
That's
then
a
go
good
and
point.
remove that.
That's a good point.
Another great question is, what would be the worst advice I could give myself? How much easier is it to answer that question than what's the best advice I could give myself? Right?
Yeah, I guess I never thought about that one.
If you flip the question whenever you're stuck, the answer will start to become obvious.
I like that. So this is an inversion technique.
Exactly.
All right. So what's the call to action here, Mike?
The call to action is to think about something you really want in life and then invert it. So, for example, instead of I really want to lose weight.
Yeah.
Right? What should I do if I want to lose weight? What would I have to do to guarantee that I never lose weight?
Hmm.
So answer that question just quickly for an example.
Never work out, eat junk food, eat pasta and bread. And yeah, basically that.
Okay, so basically, you just created your list of things not to do, and you will start losing weight.
So stop eating so much pasta and bread, start going to the gym. Got it.
Yeah. But it works for literally anything. So let's say I really want to get promoted,
Mhm.
right? So that could be tricky. What do you have to do to get promoted, right? I don't know. It's a tricky one. What would I have to do to guarantee that I never get promoted?
Never speak up.
Yep.
Show up late, leave early.
Okay, now do all the opposites, right? It makes it super simple for you to know exactly what you need
I
to
see
do.
what you're saying. It's so much easier to answer that question when you frame it that way.
Exactly. So start using this inversion technique whenever you're stuck. Add it as a tool to your tool belt and see how it works out for you.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us. We love you.
Actually, we hate you.
That's
Doing the opposite.
That's messed up, bro.
Yeah, no, I love you. I'm just kidding. Bye.
Bye.